Hallelujah. We've been talking about consistency, and last week, and we understand that we want to be consistent because when we are consistent, consistency actually is what's going to get you results. I don't care what you're doing in your life. You know, I'm laughing. I saw this meme, and it was so true. It was like nothing's going to happen till you do something, till we're consistency in something. I don't care how many church services you go to, how many conferences you be, how many times you watch your favorite pastor on YouTube, how many books you read. Nothing is going to happen until you start to do something and to do it consistently. It's not every once in a while. It's not when I feel like it, but it's doing and then doing and being consistent. So we've been talking about consistency, which really means expecting the same thing what do I come to expect when I see you? Some of us are consistently inconsistent, which means we don't know what you're going to do, so we don't depend on you for anything because you're so inconsistent. Because why? Consistency builds dependency. When I know who you are and I know what you're going to bring, there's a dependency that I have on you. God's consistency in my life has built dependency from me on him. Even though I can't make him, I can't control his timing, but he sure always work it out. Even though his timing ain't comfortable, it seems to always work out. So because of that consistency God has had with me, there's a dependency that I've created with him. And so what we need to understand, we talked about the word blessed last week because we said, you know what, our consistency is what activates the blessing. When we think about the word blessed, when we started at Psalm 1 and 1, and we just gonna stay on the word blessed right now because the word blessed, I'm just going to do the real quick brief recap, is we understand blessed is an empowerment after last week. And it is an empowerment. Being blessed is an enablement. Being blessed is a state of being. When we looked at the word blessed in Psalm 1 and 1, and even in Matthew 5, when Jesus was going through, blessed is the person who mourns, blessed is he, and blessed is this. Both of those words coincide with the word happy, which doesn't necessarily mean a hee hee ha ha. And see, we associate the word happy with hee hee ha ha, funny, oh my God, I'm jumping for joy. But really, the word happy is a state of being. When I'm happy, I am content. When I am happy, I am pleased. I am content. I'm not always looking for the next thing because I can appreciate this thing. When I'm happy, I am content. I am glad. I am pleased. Happy does bring me pleasure and enjoyment, but we understand happy also means I'm favored. And so, as we talk about this state of this enablement that we have, this state of being, this empowerment that the blessing gives us, we are enabled and empowered to bring to pass exactly what God said our life should look like. That is the blessing. I've said before, the blessing of the Lord is in us, the blessing of the Lord is on us, and the blessing of the Lord is around us. Last week, God gave me the example of water. If you have running water in your home, as soon as you turn on the thing, the water come right out. You don't turn it on and then got to wait for 2 minutes and got to wait for 10 minutes for the water to come, which means the water is readily there. And if you paid your bill, the water is readily there and available to you as soon as you turn it on. The blessing is always here, ready and available to you and ready to be turned on your behalf. But then we got to understand, how do we activate it? We've activated it, we talked about, in two major ways that I see in the Bible that we speak the blessing on. And really the reason we activate it that way is because We were made in the image and the likeness of God. And being made in His image and likeness, when God speaks, things happen. Yes. And so we have that same capacity that when we speak, things will happen. And so that's why it is good to speak well of yourself, well of your day. Remember, depression, what does depression do? Depression starts to have you negatively speak against yourself. And as you more negatively speak against you, then you start to go down. Yeah. But when then you start to positively speak of yourself and bless yourself sometimes, then there is an increase, there is a ease, there's a gladness, there's a contentment that'll happen when you start to speak well of yourself. So, and it talks about speaking well of others. We're not going to go all of those scriptures today. That'll come a little bit later, but I want you to know one of the ways that we activate it is how we speak and what we say, and the other way is what we do. And that's evidenced in Psalm 1, which we won't talk about today, but we should get to next week. What we do, Psalm 1, Psalm 5, what we do then brings the blessing to pass. But what I wanted to talk about today was how does the blessing work? What is the blessing? What does it do? We know it's an enablement. We know it's an empowerment. But how can we recognize the blessing? Because too often what's happened, the blessing has become our personal greeting to each other. It's become, how you doing, brother? Oh, I'm blessed, highly favored of the Lord, saved, sanctified, fire, baptized by the Holy Spirit. You know, we got I'm blessed, you blessed, I'm blessed, we blessed, I'm blessed. And we're not really understanding what we're saying when we're saying, I'm blessed. It's a greeting that we've had. Or what we've done is we've associated the blessing with some type of material gain. I got a new car. Ooh, look at the Lord bless me. I got a new this. Ooh, God has blessed me with this. Ooh, this is happening. God has blessed me. I got a new job. God has blessed me. And we associate every time that we move forward, we associate that with the blessing. And every time we stuck or God say, hold on or slow down, we associate that with the curse or something else, or God trying to hold me back. And so what I want us to understand is the blessing is not just, oh, I will acknowledge it when I get something that I want. Because that's really what we've done. We've assigned the blessing to when I get something that I want, when I lean to my own understanding and something happens on my behalf that I approve of, then I call it a blessing. But let's dig into what the Word says about what the blessing is and how do we start to identify the blessing versus the curse. Because like I told y'all last week, that if you ever played dominoes, you done heard the saying, all money ain't good money. All money, and what that really means is just because I was able to score now, I may have messed my strategy up to score bigger later. If I could take the small score now, but I may lose the bigger war, the bigger strategy. That's when it's all money ain't good money. So we try to take all money right now, but all money ain't good money. Let's understand what the blessing does. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 10. Let's dig into some things. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 22. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 22. Yes, it's an empowerment. Yes, it's an enablement. It's a state of being. But let's see what the Bible said the blessing does. It said, Proverbs chapter 10, verse 22 says this. The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, but he addeth no sorrow, and he addeth no sorrow with it. The word make, when you think about the word make, we're gonna take this down piece by piece, y'all. Because the blessing of the Lord, we understand what the blessing is of the Lord. Now, it maketh. When we take something, we talk about the word make. The word make means to produce, means to cause to exist or happen. It means to bring about. So let me give you an example. If I was going to make some pancakes from scratch, I would go get some flour. I'd go get me some flour, some baking powder, some sugar, some vanilla, eggs, and milk. all of those things individually that I see are not pancakes. They're their individual things. But when I put all of those things together, I'm going and then stir it up and then put it on the pan and heat it up, I'm making pancakes. So I'm taking all of these individual little things that are happening together, and I put them together to maketh me some pancakes. The blessing of the Lord is taking things from around you and putting it together. It's taking favor over here. It's taking something over here. It's making it. It is developing. It is producing it. The blessing of the Lord maketh rich. So it's causing you to be rich. It's causing that thing, that richness to exist, or that richness to happen in your life. That's why when it's in you, it's on you, and it's around you, there's always things happening on your behalf. There's things happening that will bring you favor. There's things happening that will increase you and push you. Why? Because the blessing of the Lord is in you, it's on you, and it is around you. So the blessing, it causes or exists to make it happen. I want you to remember that, because now when I look up the word rich, it comes from the Hebrew 62:38. The Hebrew 62:38 means to accumulate. The basic means to be to accumulate or to grow rich. So we are thinking about, so I'm accumulated, it makes me rich. I'm accumulating or I grow rich. But it goes a little deeper than that, because whenever I think about rich, I think about money. I think about a lot of money. And I think about being able to buy what I want to buy, go where I want to go, do what I want to do. I think about rich. But the funny thing about richness is rich means something different to everybody. Rich to some folks just mean I got a place to stay in. Girl, you is rich. So, they call them hood rich, regular rich. Yeah. Rich to one person, rich. Rich to one person is $1 million a year, but $1 million to somebody else is pocket change. Rich to me may be $5 or $10 million in my bank account, and to somebody like a Bill Gates or Oprah, that's pocket money. I'm carrying that with me when I want to go shopping. And for me, that's my whole life. So rich is different, has different meanings for different people. So we can't just start to assess, it's all about money, or it's just money or financial well-being when we talk about rich. The Lord told me rich is having everything I need to do everything God said. I want you to think about rich as he gave this to me. He said, it's having everything that you need to do everything God said. So I am rich when I am well supplied with what's needed to do what God said. And so I looked up rich some more. And it started to get deeper. Another definition of rich, this is the definition of rich which we're all familiar with, was having abundant possessions, especially material wealth. Having abundant possessions. So that's the first. When I hear the word rich, that's what I think of. I have abundant possessions, especially material wealth. And I want you to know the blessing of the Lord can do that for you. Yeah. But it's not the only thing the blessing does. Because if that's all I'm looking for is wealth and riches, then when I don't have wealth and riches, I miss all of my other blessings. I miss everything else because I'm looking for some money, and there's so many other places that I'm actually blessed, that I'm actually empowered, I'm actually enabled, I'm actually, it's a great state of mind, I'm actually happy, and I'm actually content. Here's another good one, and I want you guys to start thinking about this. Rich means having high value or quality. When something, or the word rich means having high value or quality. So now watch this. The blessings of the Lord causes or exists to happen or brings about high value or quality in my life. Think about it when you go to an interview that you're not qualified for and they say you got the job. Why? Because the blessing presented you as high value and high quality. I remember when my wife at her current job, she didn't even interview. She just went and talked to him for a minute. They was like, we'll call you in a couple days. She went and talked to him for 20 minutes. And then they called her back an hour later. It was like, can you start tomorrow? Yeah. She was supposed to interview with some more people, but what the blessing did was when it was presented, and because it's in her and on her and around her, the blessing said, this is a person of high value and high quality for the position that we have. We don't have to jump through all the hoops. We don't have to go round and round. So when the blessing will produce or cause to exist or happen, you being presented as high value and high quality. When the blessing of the Lord maketh you, the next thing I have for Rich was well supplied or endowed. Well supplied or endowed. When the blessing will cause exist to happen to me, be well supplied, as I said before, to do everything that God called me to do. I am supplied. I am endowed. Now, the word endowed was interesting because I looked the word endowed up, and it means naturally possessing a certain quality, talent, physical feature, or other advantage. The word rich, when it says well supplied or endowed means naturally possessing a certain quality, talent, a physical feature, or other advantage. When the blessing is on you, you have an advantage in the place that you're supposed to be. Let me put it like this. Take LeBron James. He's widely considered one of the best basketball players that ever played. When you put him on the court, on a basketball court, with a basketball and a 10-foot rim, to just about everybody on the planet, he has an advantage. He's going to be better than them. He has an advantage. If I take LeBron off a basketball court and I put him on a hockey arena, he is not going to have the advantage. I don't even know if the man can skate or not. And even if he could ice skate, the people who have been doing this will just whiz by. Some who arguably consider him one of the best basketball players ever would get embarrassed in the wrong place. In the wrong arena. And so the blessing will put you in the right place where your advantage can be demonstrated. The blessing will put you in arena. See, too often what's happening is you're trying to enter in arenas and enter into places where you ain't got the advantage. And then you get mad at God when he says no. We get mad at God when he closes the door because I really wanted that job. I really wanted that position. I really wanted to hang with this crowd. I really wanted to make this money. See, some of y'all can't make the money because you don't have the character to keep it. And some of us can't make it because you don't have the character to stay holy with money. Because the money then will start to become your God instead of God becoming your God. So you say, well, the blessing make me rich. It can. Yes. But God is going to the blessing is going to put you in a position of advantage, a position where you're well supplied to do what he called you to do, not just what you want to do. To do what he called you to do, not what you think is going to get the most claps, or not what you think is going to get the most notoriety, or not what you think is going to get the most likes, or not what you think is going to get you the most friends, or not what you think people are going to be sucking up to you. He's going to put you in a position, the blessing puts you in a position where where you're going to be able to take advantage of the natural gifts and talents that he's already put in you, that he's already supplied you. And so we have to understand sometimes no means yes for God. Sometimes his no is telling me this ain't your arena, bro. Or sis, I got a better arena from you where you can thrive in the blessing. It's going to make me rich. Why? Because it's constructing. It's doing stuff. I wouldn't put nutmeg in my pancakes. If nutmeg was trying to get in my pancake, it'd mess the taste all up. You put nutmeg in or put some hot sauce or pepper in my pancake, you wouldn't do that. So he takes the elements that go in the pancake that make it good, and he keep the stuff out. And sometimes you might be the nutmeg trying to get in the pancakes. Why don't you try to, if you nutmeg, get to that peach cobbler. And stop worrying about getting in them pancakes. You want to be in the pancakes, but you have the advantage in the peach cobbler. Stay in your lane. I don't know why I'm talking about food this morning, Phil. I don't know. That's just the thing I think we can all relate to. So it makes me well supplied and endowed. The blessing will make me rich. It'll make me magnificently impressive. When I am in my lane and doing what I'm supposed to do, and I'm allowing the blessing to lead, it will make me look magnificently impressive when I do what I'm supposed to do in my lane. It'll make me magnificently, how people see me will be magnificently impressive. Because the blessing of the Lord will make me that. The blessing of the Lord, here's the one I love. The blessing will make me, one of the definitions of rich, highly productive. The blessing will make me highly productive. The blessing will give me answers where I didn't have answers. The blessing will give me insight where I didn't have insight. The blessing will give me, it will make me highly productive by giving me the best, the most efficient way to get done exactly what needs to be done. The blessing gives me an idea so that now I can skyrocket this and get to where I need to be faster. It makes me highly productive. I'm blessed. It makes me highly, I love that one. The blessing makes me meaningful and significant. The blessing of the Lord maketh me rich, which means meaningful and significant. I need you to understand this. So when we think about meaningful and significant, what often happens is our mind goes to the crowd. But sometimes you can be meaningful and significant virally, or you can be meaningful and significant to one person. I want you to understand that there is somebody in this world that you are a blessing to. The blessing makes me meaningful and significant. There is somebody in the world who call you at that exact time when you need to be called. Because they was listening to the God. Because the blessing said, hey, this person needs to be called, so call them because they need to talk. And then you was like, oh, you were such a blessing. The blessing could be financial. The blessing could make you meaning and significant just because you a shoulder to lean on, a shoulder to cry on. The blessing makes me, it prepares me, it brings about meaningfulness and significance, whether it means to the crowd or one person. We cannot automatically think meaningfulness is for the crowd. It could just be one person. And so when we pare it down like that, we understand the blessing is always operating. When God tells you to bless somebody or speak well over somebody or give somebody the advantage or give somebody favor, that is meaningful and significant to that person. Then it is meaningful, significant to everybody that they touch, and then those who they touch, and those who they touch. So the blessing of the Lord makes it meaningful and significant. The blessing of the Lord will cause to exist or to happen or to bring about plentifulness and abundance. Plentifulness. I don't always have to struggle. I was talking to my cousin, And we were talking, and we have, sometimes when you haven't had for so long, we take on this mentality of a scarcity mentality. And the blessing mentality is plentifulness and abundance. We were talking about, they had a potluck for breakfast. And she was like, and she was saying basically people greedy. And they go in, they not only get what was good for them, then they trying to take some home for the rest of the family, and they greedy and they come. And I said, you got to understand there's this scarcity mentality, not this blessed mentality. So when there is abundance or where there looks like it's a lot of something, I will go and try to hoard all I can because I've had this scarcity mentality. But when I have the mentality of the blessing, I understand that it will be plentiful and it will be abundant. And and just because that's gone, that don't mean ain't something else coming.
Yeah, that's right. Amen.
And then the last one here was the blessing producing a large quantity of something. Producing a large quantity of something. So we understand that the blessing, when it's activated, it produces, it causes to exist or happen. It brings about wealth, possessions, having high value or quality, it being well supplied and endowed, magnificently impressive. It brings about you being highly productive when the blessing is on it. It's pure or nearly pure. It's meaningful. It's significant. It brings on plentiful and it brings on abundance. But here's the thing. Whenever some of that stuff happens, now I'm going to talk. That might not be the blessing of the Lord. Because remember, we talked about a couple weeks ago in James chapter 1, I think it's verse 14, where it talks about being enticed. And when the flesh entices, what it does is it tries to offer me what I would consider my pleasure or advantage. And so when the flesh entices me, it tries to make what it's offering me look like the blessing. It's trying to make what it's offering me pleasure, and it's offering me an advantage when the flesh is offering it. But what it's doing is it's a counterfeit trying to look like the blessing. And so Proverbs 10 and verse 22 tells me the blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, but then it gives another disclaimer. It adds no sorrow to it. So just because you increase don't mean it was the blessing. Just because you got the advantage in this moment, that doesn't mean it was the blessing. Just because you got some abundance or some plentifulness or somebody said yes because you wanted them to say yes, doesn't mean that it was the blessing.
Right. That's right. That's right.
We have to be able to identify what the blessing is so then we can walk in the blessing, because if we're not careful, we will go down roads that ain't the blessing and call it the blessing and then end up in a ditch. And then say, well, God led me here. No, you led you there because of your eyes, because of the lust of your eyes, the lust of your flesh, and the pride of life. And so let's understand, he said, the blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich. It's going to increase me. It's going to give me favor. It's going to give me abundance. And it addeth no sorrow with it. I'll give you guys an example. I told you this example a couple weeks ago when my wife and I were in Georgia. We had this car thing. We had this car insurance or car warranty, and something was wrong with our car, and it was about $200. I think the deductible was $200, and the car had $200 worth of damages. And the guy said, "Hey, bro, what we can do is I can charge you. I can send it to the company and say, here's $1,000 instead of the $200, and then I'll fix it, and then we'll split the profits." That looks like an advantage in the immediacy, but that's illegal. It looks like an advantage, but that is not an advantage, because if you get caught, now you got to pay that back, and they can press charges, and there's things that can happen to you on the back end of it. So just because somebody's offering you an advantage doesn't mean it's the blessing.
Amen. Right. Amen.
When I looked up the word, it brings no sorrow with it. When I looked up the word sorrow, there were 4 words that jumped out in the word sorrow. It means grievous. It means idle. It means labor, and then it defined it with itself. It means sorrow again. So let's talk through this. So we got to understand how we're identifying the blessing, because the blessing of the Lord does not add any sorrow. It does not make you grievous. Grievous means severe pain, suffering, or sorrow. So just because it looks like it's going to be an advantage for you, he says it does not bring severe pain. It does not bring suffering or sorrow. It does not bring suffering down the line. It does not bring suffering. When I think about suffering, I'm thinking, I don't want us to think about, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. But what I want us to think about is, I just got a new car that I can't pay for. That's suffering. Oh, the Lord, we put it all on social media. The Lord just blessed me with this new car. And then as soon as you turn the camera off and the picture off, now you're worried and you're in anxiety and suffering about how you're going to pay for it. Oh, I got this new house, but you ain't got no furniture because you can't afford furniture, but you got the shell looks great and the inside is raggedy because you got something that you can't afford. You are suffering. It's grievous to you. You're suffering because what you thought, because it was you labeled it a blessing because it was an increase. But the blessing of the Lord is going to cause you to increase, but it will add nothing grievous. It won't add any suffering to that increase. Yeah. I told you guys this story before. About a couple years ago, we had the cars were breaking down and we had to get 2 new cars. Now look, both of our cars were paid off at the same time. I mean, they were already paid off. I ain't had no note. I just don't like paying car notes. Both of them were paid off. I would run a car till the car can't run no more, until they tell me, bro, it's going to cost you way more to fix it. I don't care what you think. I will run that baby. And it's getting me from A to B. It is filling its function. My car's function is not for you to go ooh and ah. My car's function is from getting me to A to B and to do what I need to do. And so we needed to get 2 new cars. And a month before the car broke down, God knew. The month before the car broke down, I got a very good review at work, and I got an increase in my monthly salary and a bonus which covered both car notes. So I went from 0 car notes, so my budget was aligned around not having no car notes, to then having 2 car notes, and then my job. The blessing was that I had to get 2 cars. The solution was solved because now I got an increase here that covered that and did not affect my budget at all because we got the increase. That is what the blessing does. It adds to you, but it don't add, how I'm going to pay this, how I'm going to figure this out. Oh my God, we got to cut this, and this just to do this. The blessing of the Lord maketh you rich, but it don't add all that sorrow to it.
Yeah. Thank you, Father.
The word sorrow also means idle. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier. The word sorrow means idle, which means an object of extreme devotion. A representation or symbol of an object of worship is what an idol is. An object of extreme devotion, a representative or symbol of an object of worship. So what the blessing can increase you, but if the increase will have you start worshiping the thing, the creation, more than the creator, then it is not the blessing of the Lord. Remember Satan approached Jesus on the mountain and he said, I'll give you all of this stuff. I'll give you the world. I'll give you that. That was what he came for. I'll give you the world. I'll give you the power. I got the power to give it. I'll give it all to you. But you must bow down and worship me. I must be your idol above God. And he said, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God only, and him shall I only worship. And so what we understand is, if I get a lot of money and then money becomes my idol, money becomes more important to me than coming to church. Oh, I got this money. I ain't got to come to church no more. I ain't got to praise God no more. I ain't got to give no more. I don't have to obey no more because I got this money. Or if I got this car and I spend more time cleaning that car than I do reading my Bible, if I'm going to spend more time waxing this car, or I don't just got one car, I got 10 cars, they become things of idol and worship. We create idols out of things, and so some of the time the blessing doesn't allow us to move fully forward, because God knows that if He lets you go all the way, then that thing is going to become your new God. That thing is going to become your new idol. That home is going to become your new idol. That car is going to become your idol. Them gym shoes, that outfit, whatever it is. So sometimes no actually is good. No is the blessing just as well as yes is.
Right. Come on. That's good.
We will create, it will bring no sorrow, it will bring no opportunities for me to create an idol out of what He's given me. Okay. Oh, I got this new job, I can't come to church no more.
Come on now. All right.
Idol.
Come on.
Idol. Oh, I need to move. This job gonna take me across country, and I don't know. It's gonna pay me more money. But now the hours and things, I'm thriving in my relationship with God right where I am. But if I go over here, I don't necessarily have a place that I can call a church home yet. But I'm gonna go because they paying me more money. And so now that money and that job has become your idol instead of your relationship with God. Yeah. So the blessing sometimes will tell them no to keep you in a good place with the Father.
Yes. Thank you, Father.
It will add no sorrow to it. The third definition of sorrow was labor. It will add, labor means physical or mental work. Or how about this? This definition got me. It's a definition of labor. Have difficulty in doing something despite working hard. I have difficulty in doing something despite working hard. So the blessing of the Lord maketh rich. And here's the thing. Sometimes we try to create our own blessing. And sometimes we try to make the blessing happen. And if I have to, it is consistently working and doing what God tells you, keep the blessing activated, and it's great. But working, trying to make something happen that God is trying to keep you from is labor. I want this. God told you to do this. But you keep working, you keep going over here. Okay, God told you to be the worship leader, but you want to be the pastor.
Right. Oh, wow. That's a good example.
And so now you are laboring to try to come up with sermons. You are laboring to try to do... You are laboring to try to tell the people. You are laboring on prayer. It is a labor. Yeah. I have a great relationship with the Lord, but this is not labor to me. That's it. Because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But if you are laboring trying to do it, it's difficulty, and you working hard trying to do it, then you out of your lane, and what you think is a blessing is really sorrow.
Yeah.
Let's go back to, we talked about LeBron earlier. Basketball, NBA players in general make the game of basketball look really easy. They make it look really, why? Because that is their lane. That's what they were called to do. That is the advantage that they were given. in my day, I was a pretty good basketball player, but I was not called to be a professional basketball player. If you put me on the court with, they make it look so easy, I think I can go out there and do a little something until I get out there. They had these videos on YouTube, like the regular people versus the pros, and the regular people just get destroyed. Why? Because they're laboring trying to do something that comes easy for those people in that profession. And so if I have to labor and figure it out and try to make it work and come up with this, and if I'm laboring, then maybe the blessing that I think I have is really sorrow. Maybe I'm out of place or out of position. There's some people, I was reading this book, my book, Leadership Pain, and he talked about Dr. Chan talked about there were pastors that he saw that wasn't supposed to be pastors. They were actually supposed to be missionaries or something else. And they had a big church and they had this, but it was a labor to do everything that they do. I enjoy Sunday morning. This is not a labor for me. I enjoy Wednesdays. It's not a labor for me. This is my heart work. And so that's why I do it. But I can make this look really easy. And it's not. Y'all know. I can make this look really easy. Other pastors who've been doing this for a while, who are in their lane, can make it look really easy where you think you can go do it too. And then you don't have the anointing or have the blessing, and it is a labor for you. Yes. The fourth thing was sorrow. And here's what sorrow meant. When I looked it up further. Deep distress, sadness. And here's the word that just jumped out to me. Regret. Regret, especially for the loss of someone or something loved. Something that you love. Regret. And so when it brings no sorrow to me, what happens is a lot of times when I am in sorrow, I am in regret. A lot of times, y'all know that one y'all really wanted to date because he or she was so fine and they was so this, and the Lord was saying, people was like, nah, you don't want to do that. You was like, but they gonna change. Oh my goodness. Or I'm so in love for the moment. And guess what happened? That wasn't the blessing. That was you. And so you thought it was the blessing when you got with them. And then when it didn't turn out right, there was the regret of why was I ever with them? I just wasted my time. I just did. Now, I may have got a kid out of it. Oh, I love my baby, but I can't stand them. Because there is a regret. Oh, I really wanted this thing that I labored to make myself get, and then when I got there, I regretted doing it. I regretted being there. I was in sorrow. I regretted that thing. The blessing of the Lord, when He gives you a blessing and increases you and favor you, there won't be regret on the back end of it. There won't be regret. There won't be sorrow. So that's how we start identifying if it's a blessing, if it makes me grievous, if I got to figure it out, if it's going to become an idol, if it's going to become an issue, if it's going to become my new God, if I have to labor and have to figure it out and make it happen. See, when the blessing happens, it just happens. When the blessing happens, people be like, well, we don't normally do this, but when the blessing happens, I was in line at the store and I went and got in line and turned around 5 minutes later, it was 8 people behind me. See, the blessings told them to wait till I got in line, and then y'all can get in line after the big fella get in line. You see, the blessing of the Lord is going to increase me and add no sorrow to it. That's what the blessing is doing for me. Now, I'm glad I finished this part in time, because I wanted to do this before we go in next week, because we're going to come back to this. But I want you to go back to Psalm 1. Go back to Psalm 1, because I want us to understand this is what the blessing does. We get it what it is. We get what it does. And now what should my life look like if I'm blessed? How should I be if I'm blessed? Now next week we're going to talk about Psalms 1:1 and 1:2. But I want us to look at verse 3 really quick, and we'll talk about it more next week. But look here, the blessing of the Lord, guess what? What does it do? Verse 3, And he shall be like a tree planted. Now look, verse 1 tells us, blessed is man who don't do this and who don't do that, who do this. But instead of doing all that stuff, his delight is in the law of the Lord. And he meditate on it day and night. And the results of, while you meditating on the law, and while you're doing it, the results of it is verse 3, which is, and he shall be like a tree planted by the river's water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he does shall prosper. Whatsoever he does shall prosper. I'm sorry, she had the Kojic going over there. It was like, y'all, if y'all could hear that, it was like, okay, preacher, wrap it up. I know that. No, but I didn't think that's what you meant. But what I've said is, y'all know when it gets to like, come on, preacher, go on, bust out the organ, preacher, Now seriously, let's get back to this really quick. Verse 3, and he shall be like a tree planted by the river's water. So we understand that when I am blessed and I'm a blessed individual, I am like a tree. A tree is planted. A tree doesn't move. A tree is there. When the wind comes, the tree don't just get up and be like, I'm going to go behind this other tree. Because the wind coming from that way, I'm going to get less wind. When the heat comes, when the snow comes, the tree don't pick up and be like, I'm going south for the winter. And when it then come back up north, no, the tree is planted and the tree stays where they're supposed to be, where their God-ordained assignment is. They will be planted next to the water. Guess what? The river's water is the word for us. So if I am blessed and I'm like a tree, I need to be planted with the word. I need to have the word planted in my heart. Why? Because if the physical tree is next to the water, it always got supply. If the tree, regardless of what's going on around it, you see, this is what I want you to look like in your blessed life. When the tree is planted, is next to the water, and the water always got resources for you to continue to grow. The tree is planted by the water. What else does it tell me? It bringeth forth fruit when? In his season. So blessing don't mean I'm always bringing forth fruit. Sometimes blessing is working and then the fruit gonna come. But when I get the fruit off, we already talked about strange fruit and the fruit that we should be producing. So here's the thing. When we have fruit that's going to be beneficial for other people, that don't mean that when I pull the apple, another one grow right back. It means when I pull the apple, when I pull the fruit off the tree for it to nourish whoever it was, the tree is still continuously working and the blessing is working. So just because I don't see it don't mean the blessing is not working. Just because it's not evident, or I don't see the fruit, or I don't see the increase, or I don't see it right away, doesn't mean the blessing is not working. If you ask me to make pancakes, just because I pull the flour out don't mean here come the pancake right away. I still got to get all the mixture, all the stuff, and put it together and then mix it up like the blessing is doing on your behalf. And so it's not in our place to move because my tree ain't got no fruit at the moment, because I'm going to produce fruit in my season. There's a time and a place for us to produce fruit. You think I ain't blessed if I ain't always producing fruit. If I ain't always got this going. If my phone ain't always blowing up. No, things is working on your behalf in the background. And if you just sit there long enough, if you just be consistent enough to keep doing what he told you to do, you're going to see fruit that'll continuously come in your season. Hallelujah. His leaf shall not wither, and whatsoever he does shall prosper. So why would a leaf wither when it get too cold or when it get too hot? Which means what's going on around you doesn't control what's going on in you. What's going on around you doesn't dictate the tree, the leaves that you're producing. What's going on around you don't cause you to get ugly because they got ugly. What's going on around when the blessing is on you? I'm going to put the music on here. because y'all know I can keep going, but what's going on around me? See, I want you to understand when the blessing is on you, you're like a tree planted next to the river's water. A tree planted next to the water. Next to your resource that you're meditating on day and night. And we're gonna talk about verse 3 some more, but meditating day and night. That even when stuff around you, even if it get hot around you, you still blessed. And the blessing's still working on your behalf. And when it's your season, the fruit's gonna come. And even when it get cold, guess what? And the leaves wanna fall off and the fruit, you still blessed. And it's still working.